Hattie Block, welcome to the show. Super excited to have you here. This is going to be so much fun. And as we were just saying, this is an excuse for some friends to connect and get to know each other on a deeper level. So welcome. Super excited to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, of course. So it's funny because I was just saying, like, I've heard your stories. We've spent a decent amount of time together over the past few months as a shout out to Michael Roderick and some of the groups that he's been a part of. So I've heard bits and pieces of the stories, but I had so much fun going through your book and seeing the full context. And so now I get to pick it apart and share it with my audience today. And so I thought a fun place to start. I want to get into the broken cookie effect, but before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit about your mom. And I know that this is a really soft spot in your heart because you kind of dedicated a lot of the book to her. And my favorite story in the book about your mom took place at Burning Man. So I would love for you to share a little bit about August 2014. Your mom goes to Burning Man for the first time and explain a little bit about what happened and maybe some context around Burning Man, just in case there's a few people that don't know what that is.
Sure. And I'll start by saying that my mom passed away in September of 2022. Mm-hmm. And very suddenly. She wasn't ill. She wasn't even that old. She was 83. And so it was a shock. And I've been her primary caregiver, both for her and my dad, for the past 20 years. And so it really has been turning my world upside down. And of course, a lot of sadness. And so that's to preface. So I wrote the book before my mom died. And all of the stories I told were in present tense, and the acknowledgement to her and all of that was in present tense. And then I had to go back and put it in past tense. And that's a difficult thing. If you've ever lost a parent, it's an experience like none other. So I wanted to mention that.
Well, let me just add before you dive in. Like, I think it's a beautiful, as sad as it is, and I know you've been navigating this, and you've been incredible going through this whole thing. But it's so cool that this gets to showcase your mom, and it's a tribute to her. So like, there's lots of beauty in this as well if you look at it from that perspective, which I think is super cool because you get to tell her stories in a different and bigger way, which is amazing.
Yes, and the thing that's so sad for me is she was so excited about my writing this book. And of course, never got to see it. So, and that's sad for me too, because she was certainly my biggest cheerleader. So 2014, my dad had passed away the year before. They met when my mom was 16. My dad was, I think, 23 or 24. And they got married when she was 18. And then she had her first kid at 19. So her entire life, she had been with my dad. And he was forced to be reckoned with, I have to say. So he had died in 2013. And she was really struggling to learn to make her own decisions, to figure out. She had been his main caregiver for years. And so what was next for her? My sister has been a lifelong burner. And if you're not familiar with Burning Man, it is a once a year festival is how it started out in the Black Rock Desert in Nevada. And it's usually, I think it's in August and September over Labor Day of every year. And they have a gift economy. So it's really designed for artists and musicians. And my sister's been involved in that community for over 20 years. And she had been talking to my mom about going to Burning Man. But again, at that time, it was very avant-garde, and older people typically didn't go. So it was a very unusual decision for her, but my mom was so excited about it. And she said it was a life-changing experience. So when she was at Burning Man, people will give you nicknames. And again, it's a gift economy, so there's no money exchanged. And there are tenets that they follow, like making sure everything is cleaned up once they leave and sharing whatever they have with others without expecting anything in return. So my mom was just all over this. She loved it and couldn't go to sleep at night because she wanted to experience everything. And when they got to the playa, which is the main congregation place at Burning Man, her gift was a card that she would give people that says, the only thing that multiplies when you divide it is love.
Mhm.
And she had lived by that her whole life. So her gift was the card and a ginger snap cookie. And she had bought these giant tins of Swedish ginger snaps. So as she was handing these out, she got her nickname, which was Little Miss Ginger Snap.
Mhm.
As I started developing the broken cookie effect, which we'll talk about, and which also is a story about my mom, as I started developing some of these concepts and realized that I was going to start writing a book and I wanted to share this message, especially with women business owners, Ginger Snap started to fit into that picture. And that's where the SNAP model comes from, is Ginger Snap. And a lot of what my mom experienced at Burning Man that she brought back with her, she shared that card with her motto on it for the rest of her life with anyone she met. And that was my mom. She was, I don't know anyone who didn't love her. And many people felt adopted by her. So she was one of those people that never met a stranger.